this episode features Dorothy Hodgkin, the first and only British scientist, woman scientist, that won Nobel Prize until her death in 1994. She won the prize in 1964 in chemistry for solving the atomic structure of molecules such as penicillin and insulin using X-ray crystallography. So yeah, that's chemistry. And I choose Dorothy Hodgkin because she was such an inspiration as a human, but also as a woman, and also because of her discovery of the structure of insulin. As someone that has in their family a diabetic, can only understand how important that discovery was for my family to discover the structure of insulin, and then that helps other scientists to create treatment and giving insulin to diabetes. So I'm really grateful for her. And that's why this episode is all about her and her discovery and her existence and her inspiration to all women and men, of course. Why not? So, so we're reading her profile in Royal Society. And we're starting by the beginning, of course. How scientist was fused from her from really early young age. So she was born in Egypt. Her parents were there. They were in Egypt and then in Sudan. She was this really energetic little girl. Because of her parents, academic parents, she was introduced to subjects including archaeology and botany. So she was really curious and she showed such an interest about them. But she had to move when she was just 10 to England because of her parents' life there. We're going digs all over Egypt and Sudan. So she went to classes in England to this really private school, which this school actually, their science syllabus were extended by the mainstream schools what were taught. So what they did is they introduced the children to practical work. And in chemistry, Dorothy and her classmates were making solutions and that emerged crystals. Dorothy says about this time that she was captured for life, from the beginning, by chemistry and by crystals, and that's why she ended up, earning a Nobel in chemistry because of that early experience in her life. So that's why I guess young minds are very important from the beginning to be introduced to science and things that can cultivate their minds and their curiosity for more. So what she did is that she created this really laboratory in her attic and in the family home, and just she gathered these specimens, natural history specimens. She performed analysis on them, such as garden soil, and with this chemistry set she was given. So she started really early to do the chemistry by herself, and it's no wonder that she went as an undergraduate in Oxford in chemistry. That was back in 1928. So in her fourth year, she went to this project to investigate crystal structure, of course. and to pursue her career in crystallography. After, as a postgraduate, she was accepted in Cambridge, where she gained her PhD in crystallography investigation of steroid crystals. So that's crystal again in her studies, which, well, that's her life work at the end. The whole life were crystals. And it was actually during her PhD that she found out, because of she has these pains in her hands, really painful thing to have, especially in chemistry with the labs. You're using your hands a lot. So she experienced these horrific pains in her joints, and there was swelling and everything. So she went and she found out she had this arthritis, which she found out in her late 20s, and she suffered for the rest of her life with it. Her hands were deformed, and if you see her photos, you see her hands deformed, but she continued to do her work no matter what. So that's actually a really great example that, your disabilities cannot be your obstacles in your life. You can work hard and achieve it. And I'm not talking about the number, I'm talking about, achieving your dreams. So when same year she returned to Oxford for a position there, and that she remained there for most of her working life. So her discoveries, what are they? So what she started was to find out the structure in Oxford of the hormone insulin, and that's why I love it so much. So she understands that it's really impossibly complex, of course. Oh my God, I can't even imagine her. And she took her like 3 decades to just find out the structure, which is, my God, 3 decades. I can't imagine. In 1938, she was just 28, and she had her baby, and her career in research was blossoming. And that's when she had her first attack, Hodgkin attack of her arthritis. She said that, and I quote, "I found I had great difficulty and pain in getting up and dressing. Every joint in my body seemed to be affected." I can't imagine me, because I hear a lot of women about arthritis, and they cannot move their hands. So must be very painful to have every joint in your body, and especially your hand, to be painful. I don't look forward to that if I have it at the end. So she went for a treatment, and then went back to work. There she found her hands had been so affected that she could no longer use her X-ray equipment to do her experiments. So she saw a different way. She went and had a long level made for her, a switch. And she carried her with her research, so she can do her work. The next decade, she had, after her third child, she had also another attack. So she continued to suffer from Hodgkin's again. But she didn't stop there. She continued to work, and to focus in her work, thankfully, and to build up an impressive portfolio of work. So she went to find the structure of cholesterol with the X-ray crystallography. And she actually didn't let the pain to deter her work. She took aspirin and heat treatment for her hand to continue to work. And because of the work time effort, she used antibiotics to determine the penicillin structure. So, that in the World War time that that was very important for the structure of penicillin to be discovered, because they didn't know what was, how was it, and therefore they couldn't, prescribe the soldiers the exact treatment for them. She wrote of being irresistibly down to inject herself into the situation, and saw the structure in 1945 by the end of the Second World War. So she did it just in time when the war finished, which is really impressive to do that. So Dorothy also find out the vitamin B12 structure, and in her late 50s, in 1969, she finally found out insulin. Yeah, go Dorothy. But she was really in such pain to do so. Her ankles was swelling so much because of her arthritis that she had to wear slippers while she worked. My God, I can't even imagine. She's like my hero right now, reading all about her. So she remains the only British woman to be awarded a Nobel Prize for Science. I think in 2020, another woman who had British parents won the Nobel, but I'm not sure if it's considered as a British. But anyway, until her death in 1994, for sure she is. She received, as we said before, chemistry with her X-ray techniques. If she found out structure of insulin and penicillin and so many things that make a lot of impact to a lot of people that had those diseases. She's not really known for her achievement, which is really sad. Things like that. When you learn things in university, at least they should say who is behind it. And especially for women, I don't remember ever hearing even one woman in science about her discoveries in the university, and that's really sad. At least in my universities, I'm not sure everywhere else what is happening. Maybe in Britain, because she's the only one won the Nobel Prize, maybe they are, but hopefully they do, actually, at least. So she has this respect. Everybody respect her because she was kind, generous, and very, very energetic. She was this kind of person, I guess, that you are really like to work with. She had commitment, and she went and speak all these conferences and events all over the world. Despite her arthritis that was getting worse and worse by age, she gave time and, and didn't actually did everything that she wanted. She wanted to work, she wanted to have a family. So, didn't let her not do what she wanted. And that's, for me, it's the big inspiration. So then she used a wheelchair, so bad arthritis was. Where between sessions at conferences, were using it when she was like very painful to work for her. She retired from the public life in 1988. I was just 8, and she died unfortunately in 1994. She was really in favor of peace in the war times. So she traveled and a lot in China, in places in Russia, in the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, because she was in favor of peace, which is really rare for scientists to do. I find that really rare. But she was this person, she was really kind and humble and generous. That's what her friends and colleagues are saying about her. One colleague of her specifically says, called Max Perutz, he was a really long time collaborator. She said that she radiated love for chemistry, for family, for friends, for her students, her crystals, and her college. All she had. Her life was combined with a brilliant mind and an iron will to succeed, regardless of her frail and later severe crippled body. There was magic about her person. That is really kind for him to say, but it must be true because everybody is saying about her. So Dorothy Hodgkin is the only British woman winning a Nobel. She won in chemistry, and for me, what inspires me about her is her will to work, not just work, not achieving, except achieving, the ultimate great thing about a scientist to win a Nobel Prize, but is, to experience so much pain physically, but continue to want things for your life and achieve them and achieving them. And that's for me makes a huge difference how I see her. And not only that she discovered insulin, and that inspires me also, and I find it fascinating for her that it's a woman behind insulin discovery, but also her great will, her iron will to, just to thrive as a person, as a scientist, as a mother, everything about her. So thank you for being with me with Dorothy Hodgkin and her discoveries and her influence in the world. We should celebrate her more. She should be more known to everybody, and that's what we're trying to do with this episode. Thank you for being with me with another episode of Her Impact, and I'll see you next time.